Hello, welcome to the Indie Ocean. This is Sushi Castle, and this was released, I think, yesterday on Xbox Live Indie Games, so it's a brand new release, for 80 Microsoft points. And it's kind of part twin-stick shooter and part randomly generated roguelike. And it does it in a room-by-room way, like the original Legend of Zelda on the NES. But with randomization. Now there's something I have to get out of the way right at the start here, because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it, but I don't want to harp on it too much. This is mostly The Binding of Isaac. You may have heard of The Binding of Isaac. It's been out on Steam for a while, and it's pretty popular. And this game is mostly just basically a reskin of that. It does have a completely different aesthetic, and it does a few things differently, and it's not as polished. But for the most part, most of the enemy types are the same or very similar. The behaviour of a lot of the items is very similar, and just the way the whole game works with shop rooms and item rooms, trap rooms and all that kind of stuff is all pretty much just lifted from The Binding of Isaac. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing depends on how you feel about that sort of mimicry. But this is really obvious. It's like if you had Super Mario Brothers and then Mega Manuel Cousins or something. It's pretty obvious. But this is quite fun in its own right, and it's only a fraction of the price of the other game. So it does have things going for it. Anyway, with that out of the way, I'm not going to talk about it again. Let's assess Sushi Castle on its own merits. So, we start off in the Dungeons Part 1. There are, I believe, 8 levels, divided into 4 worlds. So there's the Dungeon Part 1 and Part 2, and then the Barracks Part 1 and Part 2, and so on. Basic controls here. Move the left stick, shoot with the right stick. There's the twin-stick shooter thing. And we're a ninja with a sword on his shoulder that shoots stuff. And as far as I can tell, we're just finding sushi and fighting our way through a castle. There isn't any story or anything, not even a rudimentary one, but it doesn't really matter. And each floor is randomly generated, so it's never exactly the same twice. And on this particular occasion, right off the bat, we've got a normal room to the left here, and an item room above us, which basically gives us a free item. There's usually one of these on each floor. Don't know what the item is, so let's see. Shoot stones, aim for the head. Don't know what that does, but it looks like it's increased our damage stat. You can see to the right there, amidst all the various stuff, there are some stats in the middle, sort of stat bars. The top one is damage, and that's been increased. Below that you have rate of fire, range, and movement speed. And they're all still at their starting values, except I think range has gone down by 1. So we've lost a bit of range, but gained quite a lot of damage with that item, so that's fine. Anyway, usually you have to unlock these item rooms, but on the first floor, they're already open. So, okay. Nothing too exciting in here. Some crates we can bust open that may contain money or health or something. And a chest. Oh, which had an enemy in it! No! Get back! You can see to the right of the screen, around the stats, we also have health, money, scissors, which act as keys for cutting open rooms that are locked with ribbons. And then below that, we have some squares marked LB, RB, and RT, and these are items. Bombs are used with the right trigger, like this. I know they look like onions, but they're bombs, or just very, very strong onions. This is a ninja scroll. Scrolls and sushi are assigned to the left bumper, and they have randomised effects. You won't know what the effects are until you use them. The effects will then be consistent for the rest of that game. So the same type of sushi will have the same effects. But then the next time you play and start a new game, the effects will all be jumbled up again. So you never quite know. Could be bad, could be good. Let's try this scroll and see what happens. It dropped a load of money all over the room for us. That's nice. So anyway, grab this lot in case we run into a shop somewhere, and head onwards. Okay, load of enemies. And like the original Legend of Zelda, you have to deal with each room independently, in isolation from all the others. And like some of the rooms in the original Zelda, you have to kill all the enemies in each room before you can move on, with only a few exceptions. And then at the end of each floor there's a boss that you have to kill before you can move down to the next floor. This is pretty much how the game goes. I've shown you the fundamentals of it here. It gets harder, of course, as time goes on, and it's a pretty tough game anyway. It's not unusual for me to die on the second or third floor out of the 8. And there's quite a good variety of enemies. Some that move around and shoot at you in weird patterns, some that charge at you, some that explode when you kill them. So there's quite a lot of variety to it. I like that. And really, for 80 Microsoft points, which is about 50 or 60p in sterling, there's a lot of game here, really. It'll keep you going for quite a long time, particularly considering that it basically doesn't repeat, because it's randomised. So just picked up another scroll, give that a go. Shield, invincible for a few seconds. No! Should have waited till I was in a fight. Never mind. So yeah, anyway, this is pretty much how Sushi Castle goes. There's one more thing I want to point out before wrapping up the video, so I'll exit here, and that's the extras. You'll see there's a DLC section, and basically the developer, Milkstone, is going to add more stuff as they sell more copies of the game. Once they get to 2,500 sales, they'll add some more rooms, and then at 5,000 sales they'll add a new game type, and so on. So I think that's a nice feature. So I encourage people to buy this game because it is good value. It is a lot of fun, even though it's very derivative of another game. And if you've ever wanted this sort of game, or indeed that specific other game on your Xbox, then it's definitely worth the investment of a mere 80 Microsoft points. So I strongly recommend at least trying the trial if this sounds even remotely like something you might like. Personally, I'm having quite a lot of fun with it. So, Sushi Castle. Thanks for watching, and I will see you the next time with more game stuff.